My journey to learning English and getting a job. My name is Carlos, and I'm 20 years old. I live in a small town in Mexico, and for a long time, I wanted to get a job. I had big dreams of working in a place where I could meet people from all over the world and make enough money to live comfortably. But there was one problem. I didn't know enough English. I knew a few words like hello and thank you, but I couldn't really speak well. I was afraid that if I tried to talk in English, I would make mistakes and sound silly. But one day, I realized that if I wanted to get a good job, I had to learn English. I knew it would take time and effort, but I decided that I would do everything I could to learn. I wanted to be able to speak English so I could work in a place where I could talk to people from other countries. So, I made a plan. Every day, I would do something to practice my English. It wasn't going to be easy, but I knew it was worth it. I started by watching English movies and TV shows. At first, I didn't understand everything, but I didn't give up. I turned on the subtitles in Spanish, so I could follow along. I watched the shows and tried to copy the words and sounds the characters made. Slowly, I started to recognize more words and could understand what they were saying. It was a fun way to learn, and it made me excited to keep going. Next, I decided to learn new words every day. I started with simple words like cat, dog, and food, and then I moved on to more difficult ones. I kept a notebook where I wrote down the words I learned and their meanings. I also practiced saying the words out loud. Even if I didn't get them perfect, I kept trying. The more I practiced, the better I got. I began to feel more comfortable with the words and started using them in conversations with my friends and family. One of the best ways I practiced was by listening to music in English. I love music, so this was the perfect way for me to learn. I started listening to songs in English, and even though I didn't know all the words at first, I kept listening to the songs over and over. One of my favorite songs was Shape of You by Ed Sheeran. I liked it because it was catchy, and I could sing along with it. After a while, I was able to sing the entire song without looking at the lyrics. I also learned a lot of new words and phrases from the music, like I'm in love with the shape of you. Music helped me a lot with my listening skills and made learning English fun. Another thing I did was talk to people who spoke English. I was nervous at first because I didn't want to make mistakes, but I knew that the only way to get better was to practice. So, I started talking to my friends who knew English. I asked them questions and tried to hold simple conversations. Sometimes they corrected me, but that was okay. Every time I spoke, I got better and more confident. I also started to talk to people at work who spoke English. Each time I had a conversation, I felt like I was improving little by little. Reading English books was another way I improved. At first, I chose easy books that were simple to read. I started with a book called The Little Prince because I had already read it in Spanish, so I knew the story. As I read, I learned new words and phrases. Sometimes, I had to look up words in a dictionary, but I didn't let that stop me. I kept reading, and soon it became easier. I loved the feeling of finishing a book in English. It showed me how much I was learning. Lastly, I decided to take English lessons. I signed up for a class at a local school. The teacher was really nice, and she helped me with my grammar and pronunciation. In class, we learned how to form sentences correctly, and I got better at speaking and writing. I also had homework, which helped me practice everything I was learning. I made sure to do all my assignments and review what we had learned in class every day. After several months of practicing, I finally felt ready to start looking for a job. I found an opening at a restaurant that needed English-speaking staff. I was nervous because I knew the interview would be in English, but I decided to give it a try. I told myself, I've worked so hard, and I can do this. The day of the interview, I was a little scared. But when I walked into the room, I remembered all the things I had practiced. I smiled and said, "Hi, my name is Carlos, and I am very excited to apply for this job. I have been learning English for a few months and feel ready to work with customers." The manager smiled back and asked me some questions in English. I answered the best I could, and even though I made a few mistakes, I didn't feel nervous anymore. I was just happy to be speaking in English. A few days later, I got an email saying that I had the job. I couldn't believe it. All the hard work I had put in had paid off. I was so proud of myself. Now, I'm working at the restaurant, and I get to speak English every day. I still make mistakes sometimes, but that's okay. Every day, I get better and better. It feels great to know that anything is possible if you keep working hard and never give up. Learning English was hard, but it was so worth it. It helped me get the job I wanted and opened up so many new opportunities. I'm excited to keep improving and to see where English can take me in the future.